Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg Meakin and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, 'cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. Got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back 'cause baby, you're the one.
All right, folks, and welcome to another episode of Continue Mission. I am James McCormick, and I'm going to hand the reins over here tonight, and I'm going to take care of some German Shepherds around here and do a couple of things. But I just wanted to come on and say, hey, it's always great. Been doing this radio show for 8 years now, 8 years, and I got a wonderful relationship with Father Mike and Rich, and of course we're going to have Greg and Miss Val on tonight, and it's going to be an exciting show, folks, so please, 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 please listen in, call in, and if you want to participate, all you got to do is just hit that number and hold that hand up, and we will bring you on live to Continue Mission. But before we get rocking and rolling, we are going to enjoy one beautiful song about something that we all love dearly, and that is America.
Mountains
right. It is all right to say God bless America, and God bless each and every one of you. God bless America. Say that as often as you can, please, folks. Don't allow the cancel culture to shut you out and shut you down. It's been a tough week. It's been a tough week. Had a funeral for a young man yesterday, 25 years old. That 22 a day. That's a reality, and it hit very close to our doorstep here. And then I get a message from another one of my friends that another young man in his early 40s just took his own life today. So here we are. We're dealing with this, on a daily basis, and we've got to do better. We got to figure out what's broke and fix it. But I'm handing the show over to Greg and Val and Father Michael. You guys have got the mic. And my German Shepherds are looking at me, and they are tilting their heads. I wish you could see it. They're laying up here. They're two big 110-pounders, man. They're beautiful, beautiful dogs. So I'm going to take them outside, but I'm going to be listening close. God bless you, folks. You've got the mic. Go for it. Greg?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me okay?
We got
right.
Absolutely.
Father Michael, I hear you there, and Greg is on standby. I just want to take a minute and say good evening to everyone. As James just, takes the evening off, we've got a lot to chat about tonight. But let's talk about James for a minute. What he just shared, that is so huge on my heart. We cannot just stand by and not respond when we hear that our own are taking their lives. We have to stop, and we have to roll up our sleeves, and we have to say, not on our watch. So I am really happy with the big news that James forgot to mention. I'm going to mention it here. Congratulations, James has a new title as Government Director of Affairs for a major Veterans Association. Isn't that exciting, you guys?
It really is. He's the right man for the job.
Boy, Val, it was so nice to hear that news. But James McCormick, he was supposed to take the night off tonight. James, if I were your father, I'd scold you here. Isn't that amazing? Congratulations to James on that. I'll turn it back to you, Val. This is going to be a fabulous show. Father Mike, I'd love to have you in the room here. We're in Val Olson's kitchen, and it's so good to be back here. I always joke. One of my favorite radio shows is Continue Mission, because I know I'm going to be surrounded by a bunch of fellow old guys, right? So back to you on that, Val. Back to you, Val.
Well, I want to talk about age because we're, with what James shared, to see a 25-year-old take his life and a man in his 40s, what is going on? What is happening? And what can we do as the greater community? This is on our road. This is in front of us. This is our community. And how do we start? I have to start there. I can't go any further when I hear that.
Absolutely. I have been teaching suicide prevention in the Army, and since I've been out of the Army for quite a long time, going all the way back to the Vietnam days, we were received in such an obnoxious way by the society. So not only did you have issues you were dealing with, there was no reception. And we have not given the attention to the veterans. Even the VA has sometimes dropped the ball, at least in my experience. And we just don't know how to reintegrate people, and we don't educate ourselves to the place where we understand some of the signs. I had a girl who visited my church on occasion about 35 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, and I did not know the signs at that time. And she had mentioned something to us about wanting to call her. She didn't feel safe. And, you had the attitude, well, they always say that. They're looking for sympathy. And after you lose somebody, it's very hard to shake it off. But we're giving the illegals attention and not the veterans. And, reintegration, families don't understand what veterans go through, especially when they've been in theater. So reintegration is a big thing. But I think, and I just asked, I work for a police department as well, voluntary, do we do suicide prevention for the officers? No, well, we haven't. Well, see, you can't wait until you have suicidal ideation. You got to be proactive. So to answer one of your questions, we need to be alert, know what the signs. Everybody's got to be involved and really give a hoot about what's happening to people who can't reintegrate. My own son went to Afghanistan. He operated with Special Forces and Navy SEALs. And if you don't know how to come back into society and join and feel a part, and I think your faith is a big part as well. But integration, and we're so narcissistic and self-absorbed in our culture, where we don't realize that we need to look outside of ourselves and start reaching out to those people who are having a hard time fitting back in.
Father, a quick question on that, Father. Please tell me there's an existing structure, a program within the military and or VA, the minute these kids get out of action and or have any kind of a traumatic event, please tell me there's like a formal debriefing and an evaluation. If not, why?
Talking to my son about debriefing and some, medical stuff, but it's not adequate, okay? And you can have a hotline, and there are a lot of very concerned people, but we haven't put the resources. There are some nonprofits where people who were veterans are trying to help, but we just don't have that sense of the trauma, of the PTSD that people have experienced and how hard it is. The best example is probably, the movie we saw years ago with Sylvester Stallone, First Blood. And you see that there's a different culture in the military, and you're entrusted with things, and you travel, and you have camaraderie. In our society now, especially, with all the media and all the electronic stuff, there's not that personal connection, especially with those who understand. Now, there are VFWs and different things of that nature, but we've got to learn how to pick up the signs when people have this helplessness and hopelessness. You can feel helpless, but when you feel like you have no hope. So I would say it's there, but it's not aggressive enough, to answer your question.
That, and I can't dream there can't be just further improvement. And something that like the U's and the Captain McCormicks and stuff might be involved. Maybe we try and do something about that in a new administration. Come November. Seriously, well, Val, you really perked my interest here, Father, with these conversations. This PTSD thing, and I've always said, I have relatives. I have a grandfather who died after World War I from the effect of mustard gas. Imagine in the World War II, guys. Can you imagine the PTSD, Father, that was really obviously undiagnosed, but goodness, right. The alcoholism, the suicides. I want to, if okay, because Father, I don't know if you've heard this story, but on this subject, I'd like to turn this back to Val, because I'll tell you what, suicide prevention is one thing. Your government encouraging you to commit suicide, no worries. I'm going to turn this over to Val. This is a little bit unrehearsed, but I really want her to share this. If she has shared it possibly on this show, but if anything to the audiences who haven't listened to me and Val in the past, Val, could you talk Saskatchewan, dial 5, please?
Yes, I can. You're talking about risks and concerns and threats to our veterans. And Father Mike, you used a word from my vocabulary, aggressive. And that's how I'm feeling right now. Because we fix this problem one person at a time. And what works for one may not work for all, but a starting place is our dining room table. It's this table, and there is always room for one more to pull up a seat to talk our way through this. And I think that's a starting point. If there is anyone listening, how can they possibly, I'm not in the military, so to think that we're just sending these people off and expecting them to know the outcome of when they return and what it's going to be like, that sounds like a setup for failure. And then to try and integrate after what they've been through and experienced, you can't possibly mentally prepare yourself for that. So it sounds like a real mess, but I know that around this table, afraid of a mess, and we'll do whatever it takes to start to clean it up. So, Greg, I will touch on what's going on. It's a real threat to the greater community, to veterans, but this is what's going down in Canada. A program right now is called the MAID program. And basically you can dial 5 on your keypad, and that allows you interaction with a live government agent, and they set up a time to schedule your death. So it stands for Medical Assistance in Dying, and it's on demand. As long as it's not, after government hours, right? Like as long as it's not on the weekend or days off or whatever, it's on their clock. But the point is they'll hold your hand through. And that's the problem, is when we have children or young adults or young men who've served in the military and come home and they're full of uncertainty or fear or hopelessness, all those things we talked about. We can't have them phoning this government program that walks them to their death. We are not a culture of death. That is not, if we have leaders that have no vision for the future, I have a big problem with them in power, because if they have no vision for a future and have no value on human life, that's just dead and dying. So we have to stop programs like this in their tracks, and we do that by morally bringing it back to common sense. Over to you, Greg.
Well, goodness, Continue Mission audience, introducing Val Olson. Val Olson is, if people don't know, she's a feisty investigative journalist based out of, I think, downtown Medicine Hat, Alberta, is now in Arizona for the last 4 years, and really, really, honestly making an impact, just like this little conversation about the MAID program. And Father Mike, I'd like you to comment there too. This is, I've heard, and again, I don't want to, just want to be careful here that in terms of the Saskatchewan program, and I've heard that they're allowing Canadian military guys. I don't know, I haven't drilled down, in their 30s, who are PTSD, and then to allow them to do that. I'm stunned. Anyhow, Father Mike, I know you got comments about that and are passionate. Just turn it over to you here.
Okay. St. John Paul II called our culture the culture of death. Val just used that terminology. I saw a conversation with the Prime Minister of Canada and a veteran, and there's such a disregard, but basically we have to get down to common decency, just caring about our fellow person, our fellow man, fellow woman, because I'm telling you, I have more than 10 years in the military. There's such a strong camaraderie. You talk about family, you talk about sacrifices, you talk about suffering together. That is not replicated in our culture, especially with all the gadgets, and people are more in love with AI than they are with real people. When I teach college, I go into the classroom, no one's talking to each other. There might be one person that knows somebody else. Everybody's on their phone. Then I have to tell them, put away your phones unless you're using the electronics for taking notes or something. So we've lost the ability to connect with each other. Now, veterans need to connect with someone who's had a similar experience, but just the basic care, years ago there was a suicide during COVID, and I believe it was in Las Vegas, and it was an 8 or 9-year-old who wrote a note and said, I have nothing to look forward to. I love what Val was saying about the future, about hope, casting a vision. They have to understand that they have a life after that incredible experience. My son was very young when he came back. He's had a very successful marriage, family, and job, but he's had to support a family and friends. And, the government wants to do, what's the cheapest. They think they're dealing with a problem by bringing death to people so they don't have to deal with it, the horrors that they have dealt with. So I just think that I never, if I'm walking in the airport, if I'm walking down the street and I see a soldier, I always go up to them. Of course, I was a chaplain, but I was also enlisted. And we just have to know how much they're appreciated. I remember coming back from Vietnam and being in the classroom, being called a baby killer, the hostility that was there, just like the Jews have experienced recently on the campuses. And so people need to know they're really appreciated, they're honored, they're respected. And it's really hard for us to do that, but they're not finding real purpose. I mean, the economy, the way things have been going under the leadership we're under, hasn't given people a lot of hope about a bright future. So I think, Val, you're spot on about future and hope.
Well, Father Mike, I am going to just take a minute here and tell every former person who has served, we need you. We desperately need you. We are just getting started, and I have an email. So if you guys could just take a pen or pencil and a paper and just quickly jot it down, military radio Val. So that's military, MILITARY, radio, RADIO, Val, VAL, at gmail.com. And this is very important. We need to decide tonight that we are not going to allow the Canadian government to quietly exterminate our dear men and women who have served and just allow this to go quietly. Not on our watch. This is unacceptable. We have value for life, and there needs to be checks and balance, and not enough people know about what is going on. So we have to start there. I need to be in the loop and looped into this, and it's not that hard to track down Justin Trudeau or whatever local politician is responsible for this shameful act, because they need to be absolutely looped into this, and they need to be a part of this at the most local of levels. We're electing these politicians, and if we have vets coming home dying on their local watch in their local community, I will make sure that they are famous and on the radio, and they're going to answer to us for that, because there has to be accountability, and that accountability starts with us.
Are there any strong veterans groups in Canada, like there are in America?
Clearly, we don't have enough, and there's a breakdown. I know that it's very difficult to get Continue Mission radio show, which is a life-saving show. We're saving lives on this show, and due to the corrupt Canadian government, this show doesn't reach all of those who have served. So it's just a complete joke when it comes to what's being taken away from people. Life-saving radio programs just like this one, Father Michael. Or, you know, people like me who are trying to reach the community that's hurting, and we're trying to help. You know, there's censorship issues. So, you know, we need to do something. You know, it's not that hard to bypass Justin Trudeau in the community and find a way to communicate with each other that goes over him. It's not that hard. We just have to sit down and make a plan.
Grassroots organizations, you know, you can't depend on the government, and they're heartless many times and incompetent. And today, not many of them have even served in the military, so they really can't identify. But I really think, as you said, you know, we've tried to reach out because there are so many things in place, but I'm telling you, we always put out our contact information. More than anything, you just need a connection with a person. Not even a competent person, not even a person, but a person who can at least empathize, understand what you're experiencing. My son had gone to a counselor because he had a flashback, and he saw a lot of bad stuff. And I tried to keep in touch with him. He couldn't find a doctor or a chaplain while I was in Afghanistan. And he had a top secret clearance as an E4, so I could talk with him on the phone. But, you know, I've watched him carefully and have tried to keep, you know, close. And I think we have to get outside of ourselves and start seeing that there's a greater need there than even with those that are invading our country from other countries. These people have sacrificed for us. The other people seem to just want to take from us. And I believe in compassion. I believe in the stranger and things of that nature if there's really a need for asylum. But we have neglected the veterans. And I'll tell you, the care is not good. My father was a 100% disabled vet. He died in the Veterans Hospital. My experience over 50 years or more has not been good with the VA. Sometimes they've come through for some educational things and things of that nature, but for the most part, you know, they're overwhelmed. There's just not a high priority on it. But when you have a government like you shared in Canada, and I've seen where they, you know, can call in and get assistance, you know, to do suicide, you know, they're destructive. They're not helping. And when you have a government that you're afraid of, rather than them having a sense of respect for the citizenry, that's a terrible place to be. And we just don't really honor sacrifice anymore. A lot of times, I don't know if you heard of Ayn Rand, she would look at a life like Mother Teresa and say it was wasted. You see, we don't have any high regard for sacrifice, and that's what soldiers do, being away from their families for long periods of time. I've been there. And we just kind of let them fend for themselves because they're tough. And we're losing them, as you said, 22 a day, and it's not diminishing. It's still been consistent for years.
22 a day.
Yes.
You know, how do you even begin? I think we have to begin by acknowledging that number. Those are 22 American lives. And I can tell you, if a selfish, deadly program like the one Canadian is touting, the MAID program, comes here, that number is going to increase, and that is unacceptable. And the role of communication on radio is vital. I believe in it. It's what I can offer. It's what I can do. And I think it just starts with one, and at very least, we should have a phone line that anybody who wants to hear what they're going through or wants to be on the other end of that call out for help has access to. And I think we need to sober up, we need to man up, and we need to woman up, and we need to take responsibility. And when we send our own out and then we're not there to do our part domestically, this falls on us. This is not a personal problem. This is a family problem, a community problem, and a country problem. So all levels of government have to band together, and I think it can start with a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week call line where they can call in and say what they're going through, and there will be those of us on the other end listening and doing whatever we can.
On our country, and there is such a number. As a matter of fact, when I gave my last, I think, or one before that, suicide prevention to the cadre and stuff, I made sure I tried the number and press 1. You make sure it works. There's nothing worse than, thinking you have a tool and the tool doesn't work. But I just want to talk a little bit about not institutional care, but family care, like you mentioned. People need to reintegrate. My wife used to teach as a master trainer in the Army what was called Army Family Team Building. And one of the things she did was helping soldiers reintegrate. When I came home for my mid-tour, I was gone for a year in Korea. I mean, I thought I died and went to heaven because she knew everything to do to help you feel welcomed and yet don't just throw problems on you that you're working out with the family. It's a real skill. And that's not only jobs, it's not only job training, it's emotional connection. I teach a course from Aristotle on friendship. And usually the college students go from, 1,000 friends to maybe 400 friends. And the human connection, where we really care about a person and what they've done, any kind of job, whether it's police work or soldiers, if you ask them what they do, they'll open their hearts, what they were trained in, not their missions, not if they killed anyone, but what their job, what their training was. There has to be a sense of the fact that the military is an honorable profession, and we just don't have that. We're tolerated, not celebrated. And I know even as a chaplain, you're kind of tolerated until somebody dies or something serious happens, and then you take the lead. And our veterans have been tolerated, not celebrated. And when you have something that was said by a former Secretary of State, well, if you don't get your education, you'll wind up, as if the military was something less. You get phenomenal training and discipline, but there's a disconnect. Did you see recently in the paper all these bands? I believe it was in Texas. They all backed out because one of the sponsors was the U.S. Army, and because they think that because weapons have been given to Israel, everyone's a murderer and this and that. They have no real sense of justice and right to defend yourself. And so you're stigmatized. When we came out, we grew beards. We made our hair look long. You weren't advertising. Now, much older, you advertise because you in your heart are proud, but the country, its conscience has been seared, and it's lost its sensitivity to people who have really given their all. And so I think that awareness, to even, I have people come up to me all the time, thank you for your service. Well, yeah, it's like, 50 years later or whatever. I appreciate the gesture, but a lot of damage was done psychologically in our culture. We have to restore the honor. Now, not everybody's honorable. The book I wrote, From Valor to Virtue, The Moral Development of the Brave, some people, they have valor, but they don't have virtue. They're kind of incomplete heroes. But there are some people, we have no idea what's going on inside of their heads, inside of their hearts, their consciences. and we have to just connect, just start a conversation. So institutionally, I appreciate what you're saying, 24 hours, someone is there, but I think community, which we don't have anymore, I mean, you don't know your neighbors, you see people at the mall, where people can be reintegrated into a family where they can connect, where they can be accepted for what they did, even if they haven't reconciled with it themselves. That's an important thing. Now, we can ask God's forgiveness if they have a conscience problem, but they still can't be looked upon like they have cooties. And people perceive that I'm being tolerated, I'm not being celebrated. No parades for us Vietnam vets, okay? We were spit upon, called baby killers, okay? And now everybody wants to thank you for your service. The wound is deep. And for these newer veterans, some of them have had 2 and 3 deployments back to back. They're burnt out. And just to live, like I said, going back to Sylvester Stallone, First Blood, that last scene gives you a little idea of the alienation that they feel. And that's why, as you said, Val, this show is so important.
Yeah, and Father Mike, I just want to clear that up. I wasn't meaning institutionalized. What I'm talking about is exactly what you're talking about, community-based. So, what I'm envisioning is
the institutional one. That's what I was talking against.
Right.
No, I understand you, but they do. Well, here's the number, but here's the number. Talk to an operator. No, you're absolutely right. I know that. I was saying that because there's a poor effort on the side of the government and the institutions, and it has to be community-based, as you say.
Right, like a show. I gave out my email, but I'm happy to give out my cell phone number. Greg, over to you. Sorry, I'm taking over the microphone. Sorry, Greg.
Goodness, this is most passionate, wonderful conversation between two really, really good people. Father Mike, I'm so happy to have you here tonight. You've been a real addition to the show, and of course, Val Olson is on fire. James passionately calls Val around this world Miss Val, our military radio gal, but Miss Val. So she's kind of how about let's officially christen you on that tonight, Val. But this has been an amazing conversation. I want to segue real quick. I cannot believe we're almost 45 minutes into the show with great conversation. There are a lot of people who really don't know who, in some cases, the three of us are here. Father Mike, you have an amazing following on your in your neck of the woods, as they say, but there's a lot of new people, both in Canada and Arizona, big time, who are listening to this stuff for the first time. Father Mike, I'd like to get you to take maybe a minute and just let people know kind of who you are and where they can find your work, where they can find more about you, what you've written and stuff. Take a nice little minute there, and then I'll turn it to Val. Val, you know all three of us, so literally let's take 3-4 minutes here and just let folks know who we are. And then we'll go to the next segment here. This has been fabulous, guys. Fabulous. Okay. I've loved listening to both of you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a priest. I've been in ministry almost 50 years come this June. Married, be 48 years in June. I've been fortunate to get a lot of education. I'm a graduate of Yale and Harvard, and I've got a PhD. I am a published author, and I have a real passion for military and even those who are in police work. I'm pastoring, and I serve on the Theological Commission, and so academia is a big part of who I am. But you can find me on Facebook, Michael. My last name is Pacella, and I'm the third, Roman numeral 3, and also the church, St. Michael and All Angels in Williamsburg, Virginia. But I'm just honored to be with these other guests, and we're here to serve. We pray for you. We're available. I've had people contact me, and you can always call the number of the show, and James will give you direct contact to each of us. Thank you.
Yeah, just a shout out to the entire team on Continue Mission. Kim Justice is in the back working this evening too, and she's just wonderful. And I know she's on the phone this evening tonight if people are calling in. I am Miss Val, your military radio gal, born and raised in Saskatchewan, Canada. And since I was a little girl, when I would come to the United States of America, it felt like home. And I wanted to move here someday. It was a dream. And I am living my dream. I truly am. So I need to pinch myself. We are trying to immigrate to this country legally, not illegally. That is a personal choice. It is not as easy as it sounds, folks. But by God's grace, one day I will become a full American citizen. That is our dream. I'm a wife, a mom, and a former mainstream, just propagandist, really. I mean, that's what I did in Canada for many, many years. Radio, TV, the whole bit. And I really got to see the true side of where media was headed and going. And I went into politics. I was told I lost, whatever. We ended up here. Here I am today, living in the best county in the best country in Arizona. I am an investigative journalist. I have an appetite for justice. I want justice so bad, especially on topics like tonight. I believe in the power of community, and I know that the dining room table is the best place to solve global scale problems. Because if you can't fix it at home first, you cannot show up in D.C. and think you're going to fix anything. Everything that is good comes from the family home unit. And so I think we have to get it right there, fix our problems inside, and then work it out from there. And if we work together at doing that, as I am in my little community, in my little neighborhood, I'm seeing the results. And I believe that the next wave that we're going to see is what Father Mike was talking about, that reformation and just community growth in a new way that's really healthy and wholesome. So that's me. And over to Greg. Greg, I could go on and on about you, but I'll let you talk about yourself for a minute.
Now, why don't you do this? It sounds funny. We've done this so long. Believe it or not, this is the 48th radio show we worked together on, Val. How about that? I always quantify stuff. But now, why don't you take a quick minute, seriously? Let people know clearly where they can find you and your work. And just to let everybody know, okay? Other than James McCormick and Father Mike and stuff, there aren't people out there that give their email addresses directly, okay? Just let's get this square first. You gave out your email address, and I invite you to do that a second time. And your cell number you would give out. And I'm saying that is called access, everybody. That's called not being scared, okay?
Right. That's
so
right.
I'm going to turn it back to you a minute or so here and talk about yourself a little bit, and maybe cue me in here as far as what you know me well, you know Father Mike well, you know Captain James. So just back to you, Val.
Okay. All right. So, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a big shot politician from Canada who bypassed censorship laws that the common folk, because they can't listen, but sometimes political channels can. If you don't have my cell phone already, you should. 480-501-3404. It's 24/7. You just call. We can chat. And email. Write this down, okay? Military Radio Val. So that's MILITARY radio, RADIO, Val, VAL, at gmail.com. That's how you can get a hold of me. And whatever. I'm happy to talk. I like to solve problems. You can go on my page, Val Olson News. That's VALOLSON news.com. And that's where New News gets the news. So it's a great place just to save. You can also go on X. That is where I do the majority of my work. It's where I chat with everyday people like you and I. And it's hard to find politicians who aren't afraid. I'm telling you, they have to hide behind little code names, but whatever. We do X Spaces, Greg and I, show number 48. That's really exciting, and that's just a testament of who Greg is. Greg, he is a mentor. He just kind of flew into my site when I was looking for solutions for Alberta. I don't think, if you're trapped in a communist country and the majority of your community wants out, it shouldn't be hard to get done, right? Like, well, it's happened before. It can happen again. And that's how I met Greg. I was interested in talking to those people at the very top. And Greg was someone who was an author who wrote his life work into his books. And so I was able to get books and have a cell phone call. And that's how I met Greg. Greg, over to you. Tell them the rest.
Oh, I thought you were going to take a few more minutes and coo over me, right?
Okay.
Oh, no. Oh, this is funny. Welcome to our world here, Father Mike. It's great. No, I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I'll do just a quick little summary. There's a bunch of people out there that don't know who I am, but my name is Greg Meakin. That's spelled GregMeakin. My website is gregmeakin.com. Virtually Alpha, Omega, anything you need to know is on that site. And my YouTube channel, I have a very active YouTube channel. Last count, about 30,000 views, over 600,000 impressions. Lots of Captain James McCormick on that YouTube channel, which is at Greg Meakin. I can't tell you how just great it is to be listening to you guys and to know the audience out there who you guys are. Always salutes to you guys, okay? It's not thank you for your service. It's we couldn't have been that brave. Total salutes to you, especially as a kid who grew up in Canada. Not everybody could do what you guys did, okay? I was actually born in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Thank God, U.S. citizenship, but never lived there. My mom had taken us back up to her hometown of Montreal, divorce situation. My dad was an Air Force guy. He's a former British military guy, 5 years fighting Hitler over in Europe, as well as my uncle's father and grandfather. But I got sick. I was raised in Montreal. There's a long story there that I won't get into. We'll talk hockey sometime. We'll talk Gretzky sometime. We'll talk John Beltwell sometime. But I got so sick and tired of Quebec. And to everyone out there, anyone who's maybe a Democrat, okay, you ain't nothing compared to a Quebec liberal, okay? Kind of the stuff, the garbage that you see today, freezing bank accounts, closing your border. Come on, I got so sick of that kind of thing. Never mind taxes, never mind language laws. So I left the United States in 1983. Turned out never looked back. Toured the country, drove 8,000 miles in 3 months. I think you know that stat, Val. And spent a lot of time in San Diego, and ended up getting a job offer in little Seattle, Washington, in the auto industry, and it's ended up spending aggregate almost 40 years up there. So finally, thank goodness, retired down here in Arizona 4 years ago, kind of a disability thing, but feel great. Published my third book during COVID, which is why I came to America and what I think now. Value No, first time ever available on ebook. Why I came to America, what I think now, ebook, $5. $5. Even overtaxed liberals in Quebec can afford $5. But anyhow, I am retired down here. Anyone who knows me, it's been an eclectic journey. I've been a middle manager in the auto industry, all the way up to general manager, and finance director and all that stuff. But I've never had as much fun as the last few years trying to get back in the game like so many people I know. Everybody I know has got either starting something new or got a new brand because we were all shut down by COVID. Blessings came out of the COVID catastrophe, and one of them again got me back in the saddle. I wrote my book, wrote a 40,000-word manuscript in 27 days, as they say, and am down here now just really enjoying life and networking with the cool people, not only we have on our show, but elsewhere, and a lot of you in the audience tonight. So I really look forward to keeping in touch with everybody and the folks that have already contacted us. As you say, Val, I certainly hope folks contact you. There's been a lot of stuff in between for this old guy. I'm 65, and my wife of Deb Meakin, Miss Deb, we're almost 40 years being together and 38 years married. Anyhow, but 3 wonderful boys. God, Val. Tanner's turned 44, and my twin boys are going to be, they're 34, and I will say my twins are 34, and I'm still worn out from raising them. So there was stuff in between. There were other books in between. There's some hockey stuff in between. Building an ice arena up in the Seattle area 20 years ago was pretty cool. But I think that's called TMAG. Tell me about Greg. Sorry to take up all the time, but I really wanted to not only just tell people who I am and stuff, but who you two are on the show. Wow. Everybody out there, you're all my heroes, man. I'll turn it goodness back to either Mike or Val on this.
Wonderful story, very edifying and very interesting. I want to shift a little bit if we can. You know the old saying, think globally, act locally. We have a thing in theology that's called subsidiarity. It's kind of grassroots. In other words, if the local community can do it, don't always be looking to Big Brother or the government. Okay? Now, there are times they have to step in, but don't take away our dignity as far as taking care of our own issues in our own communities. I think it's very important. A friend of mine, we visited a lot of the different situations like the Salvation Army and things of that nature to see what people are doing and to try to support what they're doing in our community, rather than trying to change the whole world. As Val said earlier about the family, even if we talk about ecology, clean up your backyard. We just really have to have, digestible, bite-sized pieces of what we're going to do with our neighbors, with our friends, with our community. We can think on a broader sense, and we might even draw some help from a broader sense. But I don't think that the overall Department of Veteran Affairs is doing much for us. But when you get some veterans who really have gone through it themselves, even with the system, you get a support system that you need. But just to highlight that once more, subsidiarity means if we can do it on the local level, don't take that dignity or respect away from us. Let us take care of our own people. There's a verse in Scripture where it says about the early Christians, there wasn't a needy one among them. There wasn't one that they didn't take care of their own. And I think that we can, like I said, we can think globally, but we have to act locally. I think sometimes people, get into these grandiose things, whether it's climate change or whatever, and they're not making their own communities better. So I really pray that we can get to grassroots and make a difference where we are.
I like that. It's not hard to do. So many people are afraid to look at, a big mess. But I think if we just look at it bite-sized, they say, how do you eat an elephant? Well, bite by bite by bite. So if we start there, I really believe in accountability. You know, like we need to unpack that. So when we elect whoever we elect, we need to manage. Like we really are the bosses in the situation. So Father Mike, when you talk about, you know, taking responsibility, you know, and dignity, well, you know what? I'm going to manage my vote. I'm the boss. I'm in charge. I'm going to call you up. You know, if you're behind, say, a MAID program and you're the politician who's okay with this, you and I are going to have a chat. I'm going to be your friend. I'm going to be walking with you. I'm going to know more about you because I need to be managing what you're doing better. So I do believe it starts with the power of the citizen and the individual. And to really get to know these people, you know, I'm like, I don't know what you would call it, but one thing that I'm really fixated on, because it's such a huge problem, it's really stranger danger. When you have a fake representative, and what I mean by that is they fly the flag to get elected in the community, but then they don't have any of the values or morals or scruples or brain power that goes along with who they portrayed themselves to be. They're a con. They're a con artist. They're a corrupt.
We just had a congressman get thrown out of Congress because of his inflated resume. I want to mention I met with a very influential person this week, and my goal has always been, even when I was in the military, is to influence the influencers. And I think by, you know, connecting with people who are making decisions and holding them accountable so they can look at you in the face as a taxpayer. When we were in one community in the church I pastored for 20 years in Connecticut, we would all go to the town council, city council, and we were all homeowners. I made that very clear to our people. We had some veterans, but when we go before the city council, say, look, we're homeowners. We have an interest in this community. We're taxpayers. And so I think it's not manipulation. It's not bullying, but we have to try to be salt and light and influence them because they're trying to please someone. You know, I mean, you saw the president in the State of the Union, really, it seemed more like, you know, trying to get reelected speech, but trying to appeal to his base. And there was nothing like casting a vision and bringing us together. And I just think that we have to let people know that we're paying attention. And many of them are not competent, and that's why we're in the mess we're in.
I like that. I really like that approach, you know, to be able to stand strong in who we are. And, you know, like you said, you represented, you let them know we are homeowners. We are the following thing. And, you know, if you go right now on my X page at Home Media Mom or at Val Olson, I have right there family life. I respect military. I support and stand with our law enforcement. That remains unchanged in my profile, and it always will, and it's been there for a very long time because I know the sacrifices. And I was able to see behind the scenes, you know, how our law enforcement in particular were targeted and being broken down, and what a political agenda that is. It's a complete political agenda. And from all different communities, we need to come together and stand strong and support each other. And we need to call out this garbage, you know, that's happening around us. It's a dumpster fire. And it's common sense. It's just we need to come back to the basics.
Val, when I listen to both you and I'm sorry, Father? Go ahead.
I wanted you to speak to what we were just talking about, please.
Well, goodness, I'll tell you what. I'm so enjoying this passionate conversation, and I'd like your take on this, Father. The continuing kind of theme I feel is, okay, so what do we do? What do we do to fix this mess? There's the mess we've been talking about on the show. And so what do we do? I think there's an answer, of course, start at the local level and all that stuff. And but this, and I want to bring it up to Val. Val's a phenomenal homeschooler, Father, homeschool mom. And I want to bring this up, is how do you fix this? Number one, how do you get to the youth? How do you get to our younger generations? Of course, Gen Z and the alphas and stuff. And just tossing it out there. And I'd like your feedback on this, Father, is I really want to promote, and there's been discussions of similar things over the years. The Israelis do the 2-year military service after high school, of course. But I'm really going to start promoting, and I've published it in the past. I'm going to start promoting a additional year after high school graduation of civic service.
Absolutely.
Mandatory. Just like a selective service, that selective service should be inclusive, male and female, right, Father?
Yes,
and
you
so
have
you
to
have
give
this.
back.
Sure, but this here's the deal.
Yes.
Absolutely, you need to give back. You need to get skin in the game. Blah blah. So I see a 1 year now. Here's the deal. Could a number of options, a potpourri, a checklist, military service. I love Habitat for Humanity. The Peace Corps or whatever.
Peace
I'm
Corps.
not talking,
Red Cross.
but a number of different things, trade schools. So basically, it's basically a grade 13, as they say in Canada, or a 13th grade, but it's mandatory. You have, but it must be a paid, basically 1 year internment, and the old 40-hour work week, Father. None of the 32-hour nonsense, but 40-hour work at minimum wage. Skin in the game. Here you go, and then everybody, because we do this up to now, and it's regulated, and it's quote deemed by the government here. Well, we got 12 grades, so let's just add a 13th grade, but it's for everybody, no exceptions, no Bill Clinton exceptions, Hunter Biden stuff. But you graduate, you got an entire, and you do your civic stuff at the time. Your Constitution, Pledge of Allegiance, blah, 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 1950s handshake world. Let's get our reading and writing skills up in that year. Can you imagine, Father, the thousands of companies out there who'd want to participate in an internship program like that?
Yeah, well, you
I
know
say that's what you can do.
Mike Rowe, are you familiar with the, I would say, ministry? Do you know the organization that Mike Rowe has? He gives scholarships, apprentices. Of course. Yes.
That's
dirty
the
job.
future.
He's wonderful. Yes.
Can you imagine?
No, we called it the service when I went in at 17. We called it the service. We didn't say what military branch. But I know from teaching college students that they're idealistic, but they don't have a lot of good models. They think that the happiest time they're going to have in their life is in the 4 years of college. And I feel sorry for them because they have nothing to look forward to, have no future. But I think they have to realize that there's a purpose with this AOC, the sky is falling, it's all going to be over in 12 years. Well, who would want to plan for the future? Who would want to have children? So what you're saying is building hope for tomorrow and giving them really something to contribute to feel like that it's more than just doing something, for themselves, but they can do for the less fortunate. I believe, we talked about this with the draft, I believe everyone has a moral obligation and a civic duty to serve, at least. Now, you're saying 1 year, I would think a little more than 1 year, but I'm game if they can get 1 year and to give them some life skills. That would be wonderful.
Well, can you imagine, Father? I mean, you're talking about building everything from basic financial management, household management. Come on. But also, because I think this is interesting, no one goes to college until graduating grade 13th grade. And so and any colleges, there'll be an entire pool of colleges, universities, whatever, will pick all these kids up, recruit these kids. Can you imagine? You could do a whole year of trade school, whatever you choose. Mike Rowe would be founder of that program with such just such an awesome mission. So, but the pool, the labor pool, and also squared away Americans that would be coming out, and everybody waiting for them. Now that's the solution that we can do, Father. We can do that, Father.
That is, because some students are not prepared for college. They're there, they don't belong there. Okay, I had my struggles and I had my help, but I had come out after the military, and that's a whole different orientation. But what you're suggesting makes a whole lot of sense for the betterment of our country. Then they come in a little more mature. Sometimes they take gap years, and I think that helps. And that's what you're basically saying. Do something that's really going to aid you. Our students have gone through COVID, and we've had a lot of them unprepared academically, in their writing abilities, in the studying disciplines and things of that nature. But I love that, and it makes a lot of sense. It really does, because the maturity is not there. When I was 17, I expected to do a job as a man in the military and got paid for it. But when I look at some of my students, they're still not ready to face life, and that would be a great segue, in my opinion.
And Father, because it's mandatory again, just like grade 12, whatever, K through 12 just becomes K through 13. How about that? But can you imagine? I would have loved this as a senior in high school. Very often I was kind of lost. You're not sure what direction you want to take, but just do a great job in high school, and have a nice summer vacation. And after Labor Day, go to your job. Go work with Mike Rowe, go to the Peace Corps, go with them. Maybe it's a travel job, whatever, and you're paid the minute you walk the door. And so you get buy-in, you get skin in the game and buy-in, but also value and talk about the opportunities. You know how many people in high school just are lost for weeks, months, or even years. So what a kind of cool opportunity. And the folks who ever want to opt out, they want to be lazy. There's always going to be lazy losers out there, always. Fine. But you can't get anything. I mean, it's just like selective service, right, Father? You can't get a GED. You can't graduate high school. So there you go. You opt out. But I think it would be an amazing kind of opportunity. And I want to stick the mic back real quick to Val, because this is education stuff. You got kids coming up. You have kids coming up through homeschooling and stuff. Just quick comments on this. I love this 1 year after high school mandatory. Go ahead.
I think it's brilliant. Taking a break, hitting the pause button, and not expecting someone to go from being a child at home, not being able to decide what mom makes for dinner, to, just jumping into making a decision for the rest of your life, when sometimes we just need to take a pause button and regroup as a family and community. We're going to take a minute. I want to segue, you guys. This is such a great conversation, but we are going to just take a pause. We are going to listen to John Cruz. He is a veteran he's a Vietnam Marine, and this is Palm of Your Hand, and we'll be back after this song. It's Continue Mission, Captain James McCormick's Continue Mission. What a powerful and timely song. I just want to recap where we left off. Greg and Father Michael are talking solutions. And I think these guys are really on to something this evening, talking about grade 13. Essentially, it's like hitting the pause button after high school and taking a look at your future, just taking a pause for a second, you know, because really 1 year is not that long, and having our youth prepared. And I was really thinking during this song just how powerful that is when we stop and think about our vets who went ahead and what we have today. And we really need our youth to understand that, and this would be a set up for success. This would help as they, you know, move into just not the next phase of service, but as they begin to pick their life partners and think about, you know, buying a home, starting a family, all those things. This grade 13 idea, I believe, could be like the take back our country needs. We pause and we take back from your country for you. You know, this is a gift at both ends. So it's really powerful. Greg, Father Mike, do you want to go back to that topic or any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that what I perceive with young people, they don't have a sense of destiny and purpose. And what you're saying about that 13th year, it would give them a sense of a different experience outside their comfort zone, cause them to mature, make some decisions, have some experiences that they haven't had before. Because I find there are a lot of people who waste time trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up. Now, from my experience, I have found that men who don't know what they want to do by age 40 never do find it. I'm sure there are exceptions, but it's been my experience. So I think you got to push the eaglet out of the nest, and you might have to swoop down and catch them and rescue them because they're not used to flying. But you got to give them an opportunity, otherwise they never grow up. We raised 5 children. We fostered over 40 children in 7 years. And there needs to be a strong sense of destiny and purpose. As a matter of fact, one of my daughter's name is Destiny.
That's so great. That's so great. And can you imagine, Father, the key here is that it's paid. It's paid internship,
Yes,
very
yes.
practical. I'll tell you what, in most states out there, 40-hour work week, and I'm sure there's overtime that's open for overtime, but you're talking over $2,000 a month right out of high school. There's going to be a real incentive for that. And just really from a practical standpoint, then everybody after, there'll be some people, I'll bet you the majority, Father and Val, that end up the internship they do. I'll bet you there are a lot that stay there 20, 30 years. They retire there. Imagine how Mike Rowe would love this program, Father.
Because there will be people that will realize, see, there's a pressure about college where most students, and I ask them all the time, what do you hope to do? Now, there are those who are like psychology majors, and I have to explain to them, if you're not prepared to go for a PhD, what are you going to do, sell shoes with a bachelor's degree in psychology? And so I just think other opportunities and hope and different adventure. But right now, everybody thinks if you don't go to college and have great big college bills, I think personally, even though I'm a professor, it's overrated and overpriced. There's got to be another respectable alternative. And I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense and makes a lot of money, whereas the college student comes out with a lot of debt.
Oh, exactly. And can you imagine just how positive not only a kid would feel having their having income and the responsibility, a job and structure always improves folks, always, going into the military, whatever. But get this, one of the objections out there for any naysayers that always try to, maybe spout out is that well, what do we do with the college? Why can't we go to college first year? And I'm just saying, you're not missing out on anything because it's a mandatory year. So come college time, every university and college will give you credit for that year, Father. Credit and maybe even more. So no one's. The key is that no one loses out, and we all start from the same starting gate on year 14. There you go. It sounds good, doesn't it?
And you're better equipped to face. You see, you said about the discipline. What I tell my students, when I went to college, it was a 50% attrition rate. Now it's lower, and I think it's because they allow certain things. But the reason why most students fail out is because they have no structure. They come into college and no longer, do they have structure even within their dorms the way they used to. And so they don't know how to handle their freedom. And so they don't structure in their study. This 13th year would give them a structure, like you said, and a job and a discipline. I think they would be better prepared for college and be more successful. That's my opinion.
Absolutely. And Val, you could probably remind your dear friends up in Alberta that they could enjoy grade 13 as well as Alberta 51. You can remind them that. Seriously, there's the cure to a lot of things right there.
Yes, I just want to ask something. 2 questions, you guys. Number 1, what's stopping us from doing this? Like, I can't imagine one politician who would go against the masses and seeing this is this is a game changer for a country. This fixes the country. The rub
used to be military service, and Israel's tough that way. It's been very successful from what I hear, but I'm saying, okay, military service. How about the Peace Corps? How about the Peace Corps? How about the Red Cross? How do you say no to that?
No, you can't. And I'll tell you what I've learned in my 70 years is you follow the green. The biggest resistance, Val, you'll get is because people are always looking to make money in the institutions. They're not concerned about these young people who are so indebted. Now, they seem to be trying to forgive debt, but it's so overpriced and overrated that for them to resist it, it's not because they're concerned about the young person having a little money they can learn to manage, having some responsibility, having to get up. You go to college, you make your schedule. You might have a class 3 o'clock. I mean, they come in their pajamas. I mean, there's no protocol. There's no real demeanor. And so basically you create bad habits in 4 years. You might start putting a suit and tie on when you're going for an interview in your senior year. That's not a good thing. So I think what Greg is talking about would be a real springboard to success.
I love that. That's really good. A springboard to success. I also see this as a pathway to save lives. I say we can start keeping track of lives because we can't do this without our vets. Who better to prepare the youth for what they face than these guys that are going through it? So we can't do it without them. And, I think we need to just go forward with this. If we need a test bubble, I know the perfect spot. We can get people signed up and ready for this. There are people across the border in Alberta that are desperate. They are desperate for a purpose and want a chance. Just like any other, place on the planet where communism is going on, there are youth and there are families that are desperate to see their next generation not go through the struggles that they are. So if we need a test bubble to try this, look no further than the soon-to-be Alberta USA. On that note, we want to welcome those of you that were able to break free of the communist tactics of downed communication and somehow made it to this life-saving radio show. Welcome,
Val, you made it. Val, you made it almost 90 minutes without saying the word communist. Good for you. Good for you.
Well, it's the truth, Greg. It's the truth.
Greg, do you think that we could somehow get an audience with Mike Rowe? In other words, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
We have something that's really, successful. I've seen him on some Christian shows on TBN recently. He's multifaceted in his gifts and talents. But I'm saying, and also you were saying earlier, Greg, business people who would want apprentices. Now, all over you can't find workers. That's why the illegals are filling in, because America's lost hope in the future. Val said it right early on. That is the real issue. To get excited about something you could learn. Go ahead.
You're absolutely nailing it. You're nailing it. The key here is it answers two big questions: how to get our culture and our population. I don't care who you are. I don't care race, culture, creed, as they say. But let's all get squared away a little bit. As I say, I keep calling it 1950s handshake world. I just do, and I see it simply, and I believe there's a wave. I do believe there's a wave. I think it's going to start November 5th, 2024. I think it's going to start with scores of executive orders signed by the new president, Donald Trump. Write it down. Do you remember, Father, the executive orders that Biden wrote week one? I think he started with 63 and went to 100 and up from there. Look it up. But can you imagine just having more square away, and you have a labor force. You have an entire labor force and academia,
young labor force,
ready to go. As I say, I'll bet you half the people will end up just staying in the same career, the same employer. There's going to be such a
But you said something significant. You said, and Val also, most of these young people, and I see them, they're young. Some of them are children still. They're not full adults. They don't know. They have no guidance. They have no models. They have no examples. This would be a breath of fresh air for them. Actually have an opportunity. That's why, people really poo-poo the military. There are so many opportunities in the military, so much training. It's amazing. And there are people who wind up staying the whole time, but it's not for everybody. But the Red Cross or some of these other things may be for those who the military is not for. They're not better or worse, they're just different.
But of course, it's a menu of choices. And totally answers. We look for solutions and answers. So what do we do? Can we even fix this mess? But one thing I do see is it answers the question of how do we get to contact the younger generation? How do we get in contact with them? Because, as I've said many times, forget millennials now. Millennials are crowding 40 years old. We've got Gen Z, of course, 15 to 25, 26 now. And we got the young alphas. First alphas are 15, 16 years old right now. They're entering the workplace. It's going to be the first time in history we're going to have 6 generations in the same workplace. But how do you get to those folks? Well, there's how you get to it. Everybody goes to the same civil at grade 13. And Val asked earlier, okay, so how do we do this? How do we do it? What do we do? And I think the answer is what you just kind of alluded to, Father Mike, is just do it. Let's just do it. You mentioned let's contact people. Let's contact Roe. I love the branding here, grade 13. But let's just do it. I got lots of people I can talk about it. I got some shall we say, political folks. I think it's a real thing. I think it's a game changer, and that's what we do. We just do it and contact who we can and post it where we can, and then go from there. How about that?
I think even in some private schools that would be more open to these opportunities. Again, there's so much hype. Look, I love being a professor, don't get me wrong, but it's not for everybody. and there are other people that are skilled with their hands. They would have opportunities to travel. I'll tell you, it was a head trip for me as a 17-year-old going to different countries as I was traveling when we were going to Vietnam. It's amazing. It enriches your life. And I think some people can get excited about it because I believe it was Val who said it and you reinforced it. Some of them don't know. They're almost afraid to graduate because they don't have a plan. And this would help them along and encourage them. And like you said, we could then collaborate. I like being in, not because I want to be a cool professor or relating on their level. I'm old enough to be their grandfather. But nevertheless, I don't have gray hair, so that it gives me away sometimes. But nevertheless, it is a place where you can. I had one student who was a senior, and he did a paper, and we do a paper with critical thinking and debate on electric car, okay? And I wasn't, really for it, and he did a thorough job. We had a wonderful class. He answered my questions, informed me, the other students, and that kind of collaboration doesn't happen. There's a generation gap that your solution, Greg and Val, would break that generation gap down because we could talk about innovation and things for the future because they have a promised future.
Well, I guarantee you Elon would like this. Okay, just saying.
Yeah, I bet.
Guarantee
I bet you
Val,
would.
Val, a quick question on this very, very specific note. You're the only Gen X in the room. Father Mike and I are extremely old boomers. Anyhow, you're the only one who really has kiddos at home. We've talked about that,
I got
and you
8
know
grandchildren.
this. Oh, God love you. Oh, God love you. And being a grandparent is great, right? You don't have to clean up after them, right? Anyhow, Val, you're the only one who really is raising kiddos right now. You got young daughters, and you have your older son. Describe in your, because we've talked about this program a lot this extra year. I published my book there, and how would life look like to you? We kind of have it down in Arizona with this charter school program. You're a homeschooler, but just share with us as a Gen X mom what life would look like with basically grade 13, and knowing the difference between kids. Go ahead, Mike, to you. The mic to you.
Well, ironically, on a very, very small scale, I'm kind of doing a similar program, and it's called Soup Sunday. So this is where our youth, which range in age from age 5 all the way up to my son even participates, and he's 18. And this is just a small little program, but it's a story of purpose and working towards a common mission and really feeling like you're a part of something, but also the work that you're doing is vital and essential. So the program is called Sunday, and the children serve soup to our elderly folk in the church, and the kids love this. The elderly love it. We spend time with each other. It's multi-generational, and you can't have Soup Sunday without the seniors and the kids, the youth. You need all generations to make it happen. We all have jobs, and we sit together, we break bread, and we're around a big, long table, and it's taking off, and it's catching on, and it's working. Fellowship works. So, this idea, I think, Greg, is really a testimony of who you are, because since I met you, you have been analyzing the generations, and, you believe in mentorship. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You have worked with me, and I wouldn't be where I am today on this show or Soup Sunday without your input and constant help and sharing your personal lessons, instilling those lessons and words of wisdom in me, and I rely on it. So I really do believe in the power of this multi-generational approach. I know my kids will be all over it. they'll be all over it because kids as young as 4 and 5 say, I love going to church and I love Soup Sunday. You know, it just goes hand in hand. So I could see kids going, school sucks. School sucks, but grade 13 is awesome. And now I know where I'm going. I can see this happening, you guys. So I really hope we could pursue this. I'm all over this plan. This is a game changer for our country. Geopolitically, this is like the fast-track rocket ship.
You know what I'm going to do? Val, this is just music to my ears here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call the first favor on Captain McCormick. Yeah, I'm going to have him have him make a call to Donald J. Trump and see what he thinks about grade 13. He said, "What can we do?" That'll be a favor. I'll bet you 45, 47 will take his phone call too, Val.
He's going to be in D.C. He's going to be in D.C.
Well, I hope. Let's try it. Let's try it.
Talking to young people, especially those that get pressured, you're not going to be a success unless you go to college. And no one is saying that you should stop learning and not have higher education. But you know something? Experiences also enrich you and give you a more mature frame of mind. Travel is so awesome. You know, if you're able to go with Peace Corps or Red Cross, go to another country. You know, I thought I was poor. I lived in the projects in Newark, New Jersey, and we were poor, and there were times we didn't eat. But when I was in the Philippines, that was where we did R&R from our operation in Vietnam, I saw people jumping for money in sewers. I saw cardboard houses. You know, I was in the projects. I mean, you know, they were slums, but when it rained, we were dry. And so I just think it opens your eyes that we live better than 75% of the world.
Wow. That's so, you know, you really painted a picture there, and it's so easy to forget. But you're right. You're so right, Father Mike. Greg, I'm going to move for a minute over to Arizona now because, you know, this is our backyard here, and I'm wondering, do you have any updates on the political scene here? I know you are like highly connected, so just take a minute.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Arizona's becoming a magnet. I mean, it's getting national and international attention. And as you know, we're very well connected down here and very much in, you know, have the pulse to not only Arizona, but really the rest of the country. And, of course, the border crisis. Don't get me started. I'm going to update only because I'm sure not a lot of the folks in the audience have heard this, but you remember, Val, Captain James and I now appear on a brand new radio show. It's called MAGA Matters. It's on the America Matters radio, media, America Matters Media, founded by wonderful Eddie Floyd, Medal of Honor Eddie Floyd. We did MAGA Matters, and the captain's obviously, Captain McCormick's always really interested in Arizona and the tragedy at the border. So on that show, and I'm just going to repeat a few of these numbers. I'm going off my mind. I'm going off my head here, Val. So bear with me. It's past my bedtime out here. You know, it's past my bedtime. Anyhow, shout out to everybody out there from Sheriff Mark Lamb. I sound like a broken record because I'm real concerned about the election in November. So if I sound like a broken record, I guarantee it's for good reason. People are asking me, Val, as you can imagine, from all over, what's going on in Arizona? How's the election look? And also, how's the border look? Not the garbage that we see in the media. You know, there is some truth-telling in the media right out there, but not from the alphabets. And definitely, as you know, banned in Canada. Canadians aren't grown up enough to see the news going on down here, the real news, the boots on the ground news, skates on the ice news. So Sheriff Lamb, I had texted him probably maybe a half hour before the show. He reaches out to everybody. He would have dropped in. He would have parachuted in tonight, Val, to say hi to everybody. He loves our military, active and veterans. He loves our law enforcement, active and veterans. Anyone who's ever met Sheriff Mark Lamb or has worked with him, he's got people coming from out of state to work for him, Val. What you see is what you get. I'm really concerned that he gets elected. He's running against Carrie Lake down here. I've always said, any good Republican's going to say whether Mark Lamb or Carrie Lake wins, we're going to support them 100% in the U.S. Senate. We need to have that 51st vote. Taking the Senate back's really critical. So a lot of Arizona is stirring kind of politics that way, Val, and don't you know? Goodness, you've done some deep dive research into actually both those campaigns and other campaigns, because that's what you do. So I would just say everybody down here, a huge important date in Arizona is June 30th. That is the official Republican primary, and it's basically going to be Carrie Lake versus Mark Lamb. Mark Lamb, just as a side note, and kind of Greg Meakin insider scoop, he's kind of been ignored by the national media. He's kind of been underestimated, ignored, whatever. He does not have what the East Coast elites would probably say is whatever creds. Yeah, he's just a great guy who saves lives down here in Arizona. But anyhow, so he's been kind of ignored back east. A very obviously popular guy down here. But I really mean this. I'm saying anyone in Arizona and anyone out there for all these other major elections. James, you guys got a lot coming up in West Virginia. Anyhow, so I do really recommend everyone get to the polls this year, and I mean everywhere, because you must win in this era. You must win by overwhelming numbers. Okay, you must, because there's still going to be garbage and nonsense and shenanigans behind the scenes. We're not as good. We're not as good as, quote, Republicans or folks who will be voting for Trump. I'm saying it's about an 80 million vote head start, where people I really believe would vote today for him. Don't let the media tell you differently. So Sheriff Lamb for Senate.com, seriously, Sheriff Lamb for Senate.com, if anyone wants to pitch in at all. He and his wife Janelle have got great books out there. So I really wanted to catch up on that. And my prediction is Lamb's going to win. Write it down. I'd go to Vegas with it, but that's just me. And I've been saying it for, this, Val, 2 years. Anyhow, when he announced. The other big issue is the border. I'm not going to go into it real in-depth, but it's a grease fire. It's a tragedy. Sheriff Lamb, when I was on MAGA Matters, had said, please make everybody aware. Please make everybody aware of the 37,000 Chinese nationals, male age, fighting age, whatever, military age, in 2023. And that is on track to be doubled in 2024. And I'm talking Chinese nationals. So they hit like 20,000 in just January and February of this year. So there's my Arizona update, Val. It was a little bit wordy, but you might have anything you want to add on the Arizona. And I would just want to tell you, Arizona is really watching stuff from in the country, and not only in Arizona, but they're watching people like you and me right now, Val. A number 2 city on my YouTube channel right now jumped to Phoenix, Arizona. How about that? Number 1 still Calgary. I still can't put Calgary. Anyhow, back to you on that. Quick, I blabbered a little bit, but there's your Arizona update.
Okay, I'm going to just chime in on that grease fire, dumpster fire going on in the neighborhood. It is very strange. I have had neighbors come to me and say, well, we're voting for Sheriff Lamb. That's a no-brainer. But why is the media not, acknowledging him? What's going on? And it's made them ask, well, why, this just isn't right. It's really kind of waking people up. And one of my neighbors in particular, she's probably listening tonight, I said, well, what do you think's going on? And she's like, it's reminded me I got to get out and vote, because something is off, with just bypassing a candidate. And it's just not right when also other candidates just go along with that. kind of like in the media, if one member of the media is left out and or kicked out of an event or something, you stand up, right? You stand up and you call it out. Like if you're a confident candidate, I think, I'm waiting to see that. It's wrong. It's just absolutely wrong that, he's not getting the mention that the other candidates are. And I just know, I'm not running in this, obviously, but if I was, I would be confident enough to say, hey, there's also another person running too here. Don't bypass them. So something's a little smelly or off. I just thought I'd throw that in.
I agree on that. I have, as I say, I'll support either of them for the Senate, because the guy they're going to be running against, this Ruben Gallego, he's all funded. I'm not going to say dark money. I'm not going to say George Soros. I don't know, but he's got a lot of money behind him, and I'm complete. Guy Ruben Gallego will turn Arizona pure blue. Okay, I want to throw up thinking about that, Val. I want to throw up looking at what candidates we have on the Republican side that should win, and I hope they win handily. And will say, and I always say, I am always diplomatic, and I always kind of hesitate on air, especially national radio. But I'll be very honest with you. I'll support either, but I'm a little bit disappointed in Carrie Lake. Just going to say that. I would say firsthand always that I met her briefly, one of those handshake things, but I'm just a little bit disappointed, and just to say, and I'll just say it, I'm surprised I'm saying this, but I'm a really accessible guy, especially when it comes to the media and stuff, and we're all, quote, little independents in the world, right? Val, like Elon, I think Elon Musk was a little independent, maybe still is, but either way, I'm really disappointed. I never heard back from Carrie. Mark's always available. There are other politicians. We know our radio guys here, big radio guys, Russell and Hunter. And that's the only thing that disappointed me. And I'm just going to say, it's not the first time. So if anything, and a little bit out of my style, just making that comment. And I don't know if there's a trust issue out there in the marketplace. I just don't know. But I do know, and this is it's just from the heart, is I just don't have one negative thing to say about Sheriff Mark Lamb, period. And no one I have met, even Mike Russell and Rob Hunter, those brilliant guys from Phoenix. But they all say the same thing. So it's June 30th. Okay, that's my last call to action there. Boy, I went on a little rant there, but back to you, Val. And don't forget, obviously, we have Pastor Father Mike here. We're going to be crowding a little bit. I definitely want to save time for a wonderful Father Mike prayer, him taking time, not rushed, etc. So really back to you two on this, really to start closing out the show.
Okay. I'm always disappointed when I hear, you are able to vote in this election, Greg. So I'm really sorry as a constituent you were blown off. I don't like that. I'm really sorry to hear that. We need prayer. I want to give Father Mike lots of time to just unpack what's on his heart, and prayer is how we fight our battles across this country. Prayer wins. So on that note, this is Continue Mission Radio Show in for Captain James McCormick this evening. This has been so much fun, and I am just fired up. Freedom. I love all the ideas that you guys brought out tonight. It was so good. And so, I don't have much more to add other than to just say, again, congratulations to Captain James on his new title. That's so exciting. I just want to get his title right. Congratulations, Captain James, Government Director of Affairs for a major veterans association. That's so exciting. Greg, is there anything else you want to close off with before we wrap up in prayer this evening?
Absolutely. Just very, very quick to thank both of you and thank Captain James. Thank Kim, of course. Justice for all, Kim. Justice for all, for just your amazing work behind the scenes and stuff. Radio is one thing, but what's behind the scenes is amazing, including the show lead up and prep and stuff. So just thank you deeply. Thank you to your audience. You guys know who you are, okay? James averages 35,000 of you folks out there, and you've got families and reshares. I think that Captain McCormick touches 500,000 people right now, Val. I think he touches 500,000 people. So he's a force to be reckoned by, and he works way too many hours. I don't know how he does it. I just don't know how he does it. But James McCormick is the real deal. What you see is what you get. And so thanking everybody and thanking the audience out there, your military, lots of active duty, lots of vets. I just salute all of you. Very few people would have done what you guys did, including just enlisting and serving your country. So always shout outs to you, and of course, Father Mike, deepest thanks to you. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to tune into MAGA Matters with Captain James and myself. There won't be another episode for another couple of weeks, but stay tuned to us. Stay tuned to Val. And I'll turn it back to you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. I always say before I end the show is wake up in kindergarten every day. There's so much to learn and so little time, because before you know it, you're in grade 1.
Or grade 13. Or grade 13. Greg's new book is $5, you guys. You can get it on his website, gregmeakin.com. I'm Val Olson. Thank you, guys. It was so much fun tonight. Father Mike, this is your time now. We're gonna after you're done praying, we'll Kim has a song for us. Star Spangled Banner will play us out this evening. So Father Mike, over to you.
All right. I want to read from 2 Chronicles 7:14. It's very apropos for our country and our discussion. If my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land. Heavenly Father, we realize that the onus and the responsibility is upon us, those you have illuminated through baptism and through the revelation of your word, and through our Savior, Jesus Christ, and his teaching. Lord, help us to humble ourselves and repent so that our country can be healed. I ask and pray these things in Jesus' name, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
In my 86 and a half years, life has taken me many places, from the bottom of the ocean to the tops of mountains, to running after Rocky every time he gets into mischief. But no matter where I've been, a life well lived should continue at home.
Home Instead caregivers offer customized in-home services from personal care to memory care, so older adults can stay home, stay safe, and stay happy.
For peace of mind, visit homeinsteadtucson.com today.
Are you ready? Ready to discover your soul, your wild side, your passion, your joy, and excitement. From the latest slots and table games, to award-winning dining, to world-class entertainment, to a luxurious resort. Discover all this and more. Discover with Soul. Casino del Sol, the soul of Tucson. Are you ready? Enterprise of Pasco Yaqui Tribe.